odds and ends, but when it comes to, like, the whole process, clothing is um, the simplest routine all around. So I would sell clothes over anything if I had to choose long term. Taking pictures, there's a lot of not fun things that come with clothing. Um, Even if you don't make the clothing, you get blamed for the measurements. You gotta figure out the brands, you gotta figure out how to source the brands. There's a lot of headaches that come with clothing too. But I think the overall process clothing is the easiest because clothing is also obviously not certain brands are a necessity, but clothing in general is a necessity. And so I also think it's like an evergreen thing that will always sell well. If that makes sense. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go in order with the clothes. What is the best and fastest way to list a ton of clothes? When I was at my peak of listing, before I did live selling, I would list 30 items a day. I would take all the pictures. I would take a front of the item, back of the item, material, fabric tag around the neck, and then one more detailed shot of whatever it is. And then I would do pit to pit and length. And then if it's pants, inseam, I would do that to 30 items. And then I would put on my favorite TV show and, uh, but that was before ChatGPT, and I would list everything with details, and I would have a template of, like, style, color, measurements section. So I used to have, like, a listing template that I used. We now are blessed with ChatGPT, and so you can use I'm not saying that use it for everything and all things, but if you ever get stuck on a description, you can give it the info you have and say, "Hey, can you describe this in the best way?" I'm also a fan of keywords, so you can go on Google and say, "Hey, what are trending keywords that I can add into this title and description?" There's a lot of ways you can go about it, but I always take all the pictures first. I think that is the quickest way to list, and then do the writing after. What else did I miss with questions-wise? If I had to describe my show in 3 words, what would they be? It's changed over time, but I would say my show now is the 3 words, um, it's changed over time. It used to be 3 different words, but now I would honestly describe myself as honest, authentic, and relaxing, and that is what I'm going for. Honest, authentic, and, relaxing. Authentic in a lot of ways, like, I'm overly descriptive with everything I sell, because 'cause I'm not trying to BS anybody, I'm not trying to make sales, I'm trying to make sales, but I'm saying I'm not trying to deceive anybody. I just 100% honest with everything I sell and authentic in the way of you'll come to my show and it's not gonna be probably the most professional setting, but you can be confident that I'm being myself in the full extent, if that makes sense. It did used to be, uh, fun, exciting, random, but I realized that wasn't sustainable long term, and I wasn't focused on actually like, I love the community side of live selling, it's why I prefer over listing, but long term, it wasn't when you're focused on all the fun stuff, at least at the time when I'm doing this by myself, it you forget about, focusing on stuff that matters, which is paying your bills. And so I still do giveaways, I still do fun things, but I wouldn't say I'm, like I used to be where I used to dress up in like characters and play games all the time. That was a lot of fun, but I also wasn't seeing any improvement on the business side. And that's where it became a problem over time. Thank you guys. Yes. So here's the thing, and I've that's what I've been kind of going over a lot the past few months is exactly. I have always thought that I need to be exciting and create this hype because I'm kind of a goofy person. And so I always figured, hey, yeah, I'm supposed to be a really high energetic seller that's always got something new going on and energetic. I can be that person, but like I said, long term, it wasn't something that I enjoyed and that I could sustain every day with my busy schedule throughout the day. And so that might be the majority of live selling, which is the hype pressure sales, You got 2 seconds to decide on this $8,000 purchase. But that is I wanna create even if it's a small community, I'm okay with that because I would rather be, a smaller crowd that can offer a different experience than most. I'm not saying everybody's hype, I know a lot of chill sellers, but I would rather be an escape show than a show that's just caught in the mix of doing the same thing over and over. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly, and you should do what feels natural to you, and I used to dress up and do the game giveaway shows all the time, but, at the end of the day, I was dressing as a character, and when I was done with the shows, it was so fun, but it wasn't I always asked myself after those shows too, you know, I wish they liked me as much as they liked the character I dressed up as. I should dress up as Howie Mandel and do Deal or No Deal giveaways, and it was so much fun, but everyone just wanted Howie, and that was great that so many people wanted Howie, but I wanna be able to show up as Brooke, and I want people to want to watch Brooke. You know what I'm saying? And I did have friends and supporters who are still here, but my crowd is a lot smaller. Oh, and I'm okay with that, but I feel so much more, um, stable because I can just show up as myself no matter what kinda day I had, and not have to worry about putting on a performance and still make the income I need to and make sure everything's, running smoothly. Oh, thank you guys. No, it literally that's what I felt like. I'm like, I have to give away that's the bad part of live selling. It's not a bad part, it's just something that I didn't need to do that I was doing. And it was I felt like to make people like me, I had to give away a bunch of money and dress up as a character and be dancing and doing the green screens. And it was fun. I love that stuff so much. I would never change all that stuff, and I do love to have fun every once in a while. I'm sure I'll have a show in the future that's goofy every once in a while, but, it wasn't making me feel good after, you know? It wasn't fun to be, like, trying to sell something the next day, and people who don't care for your normal shows coming in like, "Oh, when's Howie? What's this lady doing?" You know? You wanna feel confident in yourself as who you are, and that's more important than anything. So, I started from scratch well, not scratch, but with the people I took my community that liked me for me, and I changed my branding a little bit, but I'm still authentic to myself, and I think that's more important than anything. I'm just probably a lot more boring than all the other shows I used to do, but I feel a lot less pressured, and I'm actually profiting now, so it's good. And I don't feel like I have to pin a gazillion giveaways a show. 'Cause that was not good either. Let's see. If you go in my clip on my clip the clips on my Whatnot page and you scroll very far down, you will find some cringy clips of the types of shows I used to do. They're not weird or anything. Well, they were weird, but, like, they're G-rated. I hope you guys know I'm not like when I say it was a show, it was literally like a game show. I put on a bald cap and dressed up like Howie Mandel. It wasn't anything else. Oh my goodness. Oh, somebody commented on YouTube, "How did you get Whatnot to YouTube?" So, if you have a YouTube profile, you can set it up. I believe there's minimum requirements to go live on YouTube, so you might have to hit those if you don't have a YouTube channel yet. If you do, you're probably set to go. But once you hit those minimum requirements, there's not YouTube requirements anymore? Oh, perfect. So you can create a YouTube profile, and when you go live, press go live on your phone, you'll notice this little pop-up that says multicast. And you'll click on it, it will give you the options of YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I haven't tried the other two. I think D has. And if anybody else in here has, let me know. But you can multicast, so then it's just like extra marketing during your shows. It also helps your social medias too, because you're technically live. Do you load your shop with clothes for live selling, or do you only do mystery polls? My daughter and I are starting Whatnot shop first. That's amazing, Yvonne. Welcome. So I will tell you two things. I do a mix of both at the end of the day. Um, when I get a brand new palette, I usually list a lot of it because my opinion and my experience in my shows, I believe I make more profit when I list items. ahead of time. When you take a picture, you take the time to list it, title and description like you would on a marketplace, 100% always make more money. If it's getting to like the past 2 days, bad example on my part because yes, you can make more money listing, but I'm also a very tight storage space. So if I that's my goal now. I list items when I need to get higher profit. But when it gets to the point of items being stored and there are multiples of the same size that I need to sell, I will do a clearance show where it's random pulls. So I think it just depends on your business style. But my personal business style, it is good to have a mixture. So new high-end items are getting listed for more profit. Clearance items that need to go, random pulls. Lulu, thank you so much for the raid. You guys, can we all take a second and follow Lulu80? Welcome in. We're just having a chill chat show. We're selling and now we're hanging out. I appreciate the raid, of course, and good luck to you and your daughter. That's exciting. Love your face too. Thank you for the raid. I hope you guys had an amazing show. This is a very impromptu, is that the word for it? Chat show. But yeah, we're just hanging out. Thank you for the raid. But you can multicast from Whatnot to YouTube. You just have to, you should see an option to multicast when you click go live. And you'll set it up through there and connect it to your social media accounts. Yes, if you have a YouTube, if you have a Facebook or Twitch, Whatnot has compatibility to multicast there. Oh, did Ross fall asleep? Oh, you guys are so fun. I love your shows. I hope you guys had an amazing show tonight. Oh, but yeah, we've just been in here chatting. Is there any other questions? Anybody? Something dropped there. My kids are up there. Sorry. How long have you been selling on Whatnot? Thank you. I appreciate it. I've been selling on Whatnot since July of 2022. So it's been about 3.5 years. It'll be 4 in July. And I've definitely pivoted many times, gone back and forth on how I run my shows, but I've been able to have it as a full-time job for uh, almost 4 years now. But thank you. I have not multicasted to Facebook. I do have a Facebook page for my business, but I don't feel like it's as community as driven as YouTube and whatnot. But maybe I'll get brave enough to multicast there too. It's Howie time. I mainly sell clothing. I've I've been reselling clothing since 2013 because that's just what I started with. I just started selling stuff from my closet. And so I feel like I've always just stuck to clothes because it's what I'm best at. And I truly believe it's the easiest to ship on the back end, especially when doing volume. But I have sold a mix of random items of all types too. But I prefer clothing overall. FB chat show. Okay, that's a good idea. So for chat shows only. You have your show loaded, all individual items in the bin and auction, all weighed correctly, and I'll do random pulls of small weight. That's a good idea, Stephanie. And people like a mix, and that's where it's hard with live selling. People do prefer a loaded show, but you'll notice that shows are a lot more um there's a lot more hype, I should say, and excitement for random pull shows. You'll notice that. But you also get stronger buyers in the pre-listed item show. So there's pros and cons to each, right? A fully loaded shop might not be as exciting if people like the mystery thrill, random pull style shows, and you might lose that customer base. Um, but then you also have people who can't stand random pulls because they're looking for a certain item and they don't want to be waiting around all day for, their size and brand they're looking for to pop up. So I'd say there's pros and cons either way. A lot of people find a healthy mix, like Stephanie was saying, with doing a little bit of both. And yeah, with all my years experience, I'd say you definitely make more, at least personally I do when I list with details. But sometimes it's too chaotic and you got to clear stuff out and random pulls are a must. So I do a little mix of both too. Yes, exactly. Bree, see, and some buyers have a preference, like Bree said, she likes to buy kids clothes random pulls. Um, Cap City said, I've been taking the time to preload the bin, and those people have been buying during the auction bids. So some don't want to wait. See, I love that. So your buy it now section. So they don't pre-bid, they just go in and buy it. Yeah, there's a lot of shoppers for that. And another good reason, you guys want to know what's funny? On I make marketplace sales every once in a while, so I love that Cap City brought that up. But on the Super Bowl day specifically, probably with the influx, I got 2 marketplace sales randomly of items I just listed, and they were probably the 500,000 people that came over from the Mr. Beast crowd, I would just guess. Because it was really, like, right when I listed him, and it was right when he around the time he had just ended his live, and so, like Capsy was saying, you might be missing out on a whole market that is growing of having items just available all the time. So, I would do a mix of preloaded items in the auction, preloaded items in the buy it now section, which is different from the auction, and then maybe some random pulls, maybe do a mix of all 3. Exactly! So true. Do you have an average sell time per item? Looking for that sweet pot spot. Like, how long it takes to sell a certain item? I I could never tell you, because I don't know. Here's the other thing with live selling, things go in waves. So, if I'm selling a Carhartt sweatshirt, for example, it will sell for I could start it at $1 if I'm doing dollar starts for some reason that day. And it would sell for maybe it got up to $46, okay? And then you could show up the next day with the same Carhartt sweater with the same dollar start, and it could go for 7. That's why listing your items with a set price ahead of time everyone always says like, "Oh, it's so stressful, you lose money." If you're choosing to do random polls with, you know, you gotta be okay with selling it for that cheap. Tonight it was clearance items that I needed to get rid of a ton of multiples, so I'm okay with selling it for inexpensive. But if you have nice stuff that's gonna make you sick if you sell it cheap, list it ahead of time for the minimum price you want, and then you don't ever have to worry about any of those problems. Isn't even balance caps, he says. But yeah, it every day is so different on here. Like, you probably heard me making comments in my show earlier, like, "Oh, everyone's less chatty today." There's buying factors change every day, viewers change every day. Sometimes your friends are there, sometimes they're not. People have lives. Sometimes people are chatty and there's a lot of interaction going on. Sometimes there's no chat and you have to fill the room with the awkward silence. So, if you are okay with adapting to all those things, this job is amazing. But you have to be okay with every day being a little bit different because that's just how the live selling goes. Live sales bundle with bin items in the same weight category. So it doesn't have to be the same weight category. What it is if you use Whatnot's default settings when you list items, which is what I use, you take your little scale, you weigh the item, and then you list it with that weight. Sometimes it lets you go over 5 pounds, but you can always tell your customers if you haven't messed with any shipping settings in your show, it will let you at least bundle up to 5 pounds before it resets. So like tonight, a lot of my items were 8 to 11 ounces. It I purposefully put all those together so I could do an easy random pull on the same listing with the same weight. And so uh, you can do 8 to 11 ounce bundle items before it resets on the shipping. So they usually pay 9.21 for the first pound, and then it's free shipping until 5 pounds, and then it resets. But it all depends on the item weight. Is there a good time for auctions? It like a better time of day to run your shows. It's all dependent on the brand you've built. Um, but there's buyers all day, every day on this app. There are people who are amazing sellers in the morning, in the evenings, in the middle of the afternoon. That is up for you to decide, but consistency is huge. That's why I always tell you guys, "Oh, I started early, I'm not gonna have the same flow that I usually do." And so, I'd say choose a time that you can be consistent with at least a couple days a week and stick to it, and then you can always pop up whenever, but if you have a couple consistent days, it really helps build your audience to know, when you're gonna show up and stuff, and you can so I perform better at night with my shows. But I do pop-up sometimes, but they never go as well as the nighttime. And I'm not sure why, but I would say it's probably just because I built my brand that way and I've been streaming at night for years. but there's people who only run during the daytimes, you know? So any time is a good time to sell. You just have to figure out which time is best for you and which time you can build and be consistent on so your audience knows when to find you. What if your scale is big? I need a big scale. That's be nice. The big boxes, when I'm trying to weigh them, they're hard to fit on that tiny one. Can you bring one of the girls' pants on flash sale so I can see the size using you as a model? Yes, they're downstairs. I'll be right back, guys. Let me go grab those. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Hi, Indie Princess. Welcome in, friend. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, give me 1 second. Oh, that's supposed to be enough. Hi, Indy. Welcome in, friends. These are the girls' pants that are on flash sale in the bin. They look like this. They're size 11 to 12 years. They're cute little denim pull-on pants. Okay, let me see. I'm out of breath from going up the stairs. Hello. What questions do you guys have? Of course. And we don't have to make this Q&A for long, but I figured why not? Where do I get my inventory? Let me tell you. So I'll tell you how I get my inventory, and that will give you guys an idea. So I don't think you should ever limit yourself to one inventory place. I'm out of breath. That's just how it is when I go down the stairs. Um, you should never limit yourself to one inventory source. That's where I used to get in a lot of trouble and run out of inventory constantly. But how I buy inventory is a few different ways. I buy them on liquidation pallets. Um, I usually buy them locally. You can buy liquidation clothing pallets online. So, yeah, no, girl, you are such a good sourcer. I know you're teasing, but Lady Princess always finds good brands. But I buy liquidation pallets, and I usually try to find local places because I don't like to pay shipping on anything. Sometimes shipping can cost as much as the pallet. Whatnot did just open up a wholesale category. I haven't bought one of their pallets yet, but shipping is included if you guys haven't checked out those pallets. Um, the one category on Whatnot that I think is totally slept on, which has helped me fill my bin like crazy, is the case packs. So it's in the wholesale category and it's called case packs and bundles. The amount of wholesalers selling those case packs all day, every day for so cheap. If you're on a scale like me where you don't need a gazillion things, you guys are missing. I'm telling you, the deals are there all day. I've bought so many of those case packs and if you just, you can make really good money on them. I'm telling you, they those wholesalers have so much inventory because they get truckloads and they have warehouse fulls. They are just clearing it out. So I've been able to really build inventory through. So I buy pallets. I've been buying a lot of case packs online, mainly through Whatnot. You can buy small inventory lots where it's usually like a box of 40 to 50 items from liquidation places too. But if you don't want to go that route at all, if I if I didn't have kids and I buy pallets because I kind of have to. I think hand selecting your inventory is 100% the way to go. Yes, palettes are awesome sometimes they're miserable. Uh, but if I had the time to source all day, I would all day, every day. But it's just not realistic being a mom. Um, yes, I'll answer that question in a sec. But I would go and hand source if I could. And before I bought pallets, I would source. Um, I would. I started with my own closet when I started selling online. I just sold stuff that I didn't want anymore, and then it got into the thrifting stage, the Goodwill bins. where you can flip pre-owned clothing if you need, like, a really low cost of good. You can ask people you know for, if they have stuff they don't want anymore. You can go to garage sales, yard sales, estate sales, uh, and then you just go from there. One thing that's super slept on, which is why I mainly go clearance shopping now to keep up with trends. It helps me stay familiar with brands, but clearance shopping is huge. There's clearance sales all day, every day at so many different places. If you have time to go out and source by hand, I'm telling you, like, you will find really good sales and deals. Yeah, and then you actually pick items you like, and then you're happy selling it. Um, that's what I'm saying. There's pros and cons to everything, but obviously that takes a ton of time. But there is and we also have things that weren't here, 10 years ago when I first started selling online, and that was at least they weren't here in Utah. The bin stores, like the Amazon liquidation bin stores, those are everywhere now. See if you have one of those in your area. Those are brand new items. Sometimes they're branded, sometimes they're Amazon, but even sometimes the Amazon brand stuff on my palette sells better than the branded items. They make good stuff on there too. So I think we always just think, oh, you have to get pallets. Oh, you have to get wholesale, from these brands. But there's so many other ways to source items to sell online. You just kind of have to think out of the